Hello and welcome to Offsides, BUTV10's only professional sports talk show. I'm Daniel Maltz.
And I'm Jacob Cohen. Tonight we've got an NBA shot clock with Alex Cohen and Bobby Serafin going head-to-head with NBA season predictions.
Then we have a double dose of NFL as Joe Pohorelis and Tyler Carroll will break down the latest beef in the NFL players versus refs fiasco, and then we'll hear from May-Claire Sabin about just how beneficial the London games have been for the NFL brand.
All this and more, another action-packed episode of Offsides kicks off right now.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Shot Clock here on Offsides. My name's Seth Hellman and I'm joined by Bobby Serafin and Alex Cohen, who will be debating the 2021-2022 NBA season. We've got 5 rounds and each analyst will get 25 seconds per round to make their case. Whoever ends up with the most points at the end of the 5 rounds will be declared the champion. Bobby, you're up first. Give me your take for who you think was the best off-season move.
Thank you, Seth. And my pick for biggest offseason acquisition is DeMar DeRozan, heading to the Chicago Bulls on a 3-year deal worth $85 million. He's coming off one of his most efficient seasons this past year, still a master of his mid-range game and posting a career high in assists with 6.9. Heading to the Bulls, he'll hope to be another playmaker for Zach LaVine and this potent Chicago Bulls offense. So I'm going to go with DeMar DeRozan.
That's a fair take. I like the Bulls offseason in general. I think Alex Caruso could be even more impactful than DeMar DeRozan. But my most impactful player has to be Jonas Valanciunas. Now, I don't love the Pelicans process. They traded a first for Steven Adams and extended him before he played a game with the Zion, and then they just did the same thing with Jonas. But with his offensive touch, he's going to be a great fit with Zion, unlike Adams, and they're going to be great together.
Well, Alex, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think that Adams is a better fit with Williams than Valanciunas is. So I'm giving the point to Bobby here, even though I think that Lonzo Ball is going to be a more impactful offseason move than DeMar DeRozan. Alex, you get a chance here to redeem yourself. Who do you have as the most overrated team entering the 2021-2022 season?
So my pick's a little weird because no one's expecting them to be world beaters anyway, but I'm going with the Charlotte Hornets. They're still expected to be on the rise with the heroics of LaMelo Ball, which is understandable. However, there's not much else to write about besides him and Gordon Hayward, who cannot be trusted at all with his injury risk. So between him, the Mason Plumlee, who's the worst starting center in the NBA, Kelly Oubre, who doesn't know how to play basketball, I'm really low on this Hornets team.
Alex, I like how you like to mention the injury history of Gordon Hayward. Well, I'm going to pan to the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid cannot be trusted with his health concerns. Ben Simmons still has more girlfriends in his career than made three-pointers, and the depth of the team just isn't seeming to be there right now. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near the top of the Eastern Conference elite as they've been for years past, and I'm expecting a downfall, especially around the Ben Simmons saga.
I mean, I don't know how you can overrate a team that most people don't even think is going to get that close to the playoffs. So point again to Bobby here. It's got to be the 76ers. Joel Embiid's injury history is a question mark, but I think they'll be able to get it done. Bobby, let's see if you can pick up another point here. Who do you have as the most underrated team entering this season?
Okay, well, I already briefly mentioned them before, but the Chicago Bulls have had a terrific offseason, bringing in underrated point guard Lonzo Ball, DeMar DeRozan, and Alex Caruso from the Los Angeles Lakers. I think their offense is much improved this season. Billy Donovan was able to bring the 28th ranked offense 2 seasons ago up to 13th last year. I think he's done a amazing job with this team, and I think going forward they're going to be an unsuspecting but great force in the Eastern Conference.
I'm going with the Timberwolves. They've been a mess. They literally just fired their executive. I don't even know if they have a GM right now. They were great under Chris Finch. They went from like 7-25 to like 16-25 with him, which isn't great, but it's still much better. And you consider in the improvement of Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell and Towns finally playing together for extended minutes, a motivated and healthy Towns, they're going to compete for the 8th seed, I think.
I'm going to have to give the point to Alex here because I didn't even consider the Timberwolves when I was considering who I thought was the most underrated team. That's just how underrated they are. Alex, we're sticking with you. Who do you have as the MVP of this season?
So Giannis may have not played so well against the Heat the other night. But he's going to win MVP again this year. He took a year off. Now the voters are ready to vote for him again. I know we all saw those clips of him hitting jumpers in preseason again, so we're going to pretend that he's finally fixed his jumper. He probably hasn't, but he's going to average like 30, 12, 8. The Bucks are going to be a great team, and he's going to an MVP.
Now, Alex, that is just blasphemy because the NBA needs a new face, and that's going to come through Luka Doncic. He absolutely lit it up during the Olympics this summer and looks to improve a Mavs team that really turned some heads this playoff season. He's on pace to average close to a triple-double for the second straight season, and I think this is the year he'll finally break through with his first MVP season, helped out by Kristaps Porzingis and the rest of the Mavs team. It's Luka time.
No Kyrie, big problem, but not for the Nets. For the rest of the league, Kevin Durant is winning the MVP this year. He's going to torch the league. He's scoring 35 per game. I'm calling it right now. That being said, point to Alex because Giannis is such a monster that he's going to win the MVP yet again. His jumper is fixed. Nobody is stopping that man. All right, last point. This one is for all of the marbles. Bobby, you're up first. Who are you picking for the 2021-2022 NBA champion?
Seth, I love how you just mentioned my pick, the Brooklyn Nets. Although they may not have Kyrie Irving for an extended part of this season, Kevin Durant is a man on a mission. And him, along with fellow NBA 75 player James Harden, the Nets look to build off of what was so close to being a finals run last season, coming up mere inches short of being the Bucks. I think this is the year KD, driven as ever after his Olympic performance, is able to get over the hump and make a name for himself.
James Harden may be an NBA 75 player, but he's also a 75-game player because after that, he falls off in the playoffs. I'm not taking the Nets over the Los Angeles Lakers. LeBron looks healthy. He was making his threes the other night. With him, a healthy AD, Russell Westbrook, if he's just not bad, they're going to easily win the championship. And LeBron's getting another Finals MVP.
Well, you guys picked the two teams that are probably going to face each other in the NBA Finals, but Alex picked the right one. The Lakers are winning the championship this year. LeBron James looks like one of the best players on the planet, as per usual. He's one of the best of all time, and Russell Westbrook is going to be on a mission this year. You best believe that if he faces the Nets in the playoffs, he is going to torch them and make KD wish he never left OKC. That's it for the shot clock here. I'm Seth Hellman. Ty and Joe, over to you.
Another year of NFL football brings along with it another year of questionable refereeing and fan outrage. Joe and I are here to determine if the lackluster performance from the Stripes thus far is business as usual for the NFL or if action should be taken to rectify fans' concerns.
Personally, I think it's business on overtime. Obviously, there's always been gripes with officiating, but this year has reached a new peak. In my opinion, action needs to be taken.
Yeah, but level with me here, Joe. This isn't anything new. Blaming the refs when your team doesn't win is a time-honored tradition as old as the game itself. Have you seen anything this season that displays a new level of incompetence from the refs?
It's true. Every year we see games impacted by poor officiating, some to larger extremes than others, but I don't think we've ever seen this much. Last year, there was never a week with more than 200 penalties called overall. To start this season, we saw 221 in Week 1 and 214 in Week 2. Even looking that broadly, it's slowing down the game unnecessarily.
Look, don't get me wrong, there have certainly been calls this year that I disagree with. Roughing the passer is more fickle than ever, and every antiquated football pundit has merit when they say they don't know what a pass interference is anymore. But bad reffing has always been part of the game. I chalk up the increase in penalties to the league cracking down on taunting and unsportsmanlike conduct.
You're right, and even with the body weight rule and that a defender cannot lay his full body on the quarterback, which is questionable to begin with, roughing the passer is still getting called on objectively weak pressures. It's a wonder how anyone has any credited sacks today. The NFL has to look at these rules and make them less subjective.
Look, I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to improve the quality of refereeing in the NFL, and I'm not saying that fans aren't entirely in the right to complain. What I am saying is that this is the best the NFL has right now. Does anybody else remember 2012, the replacement refs? The NFL had to renew the contracts with the regular refs after just 3 weeks because of how bad everything was.
Good is the enemy of great, my friend. Just because this is the best we have doesn't mean fans should just settle for it. The game constantly evolves, and the officiating should with it. No matter how many great teams play on the field, the overall product goes down with poor officiating. It may be better than the replacement refs, but it's just not good enough. The league has to demand better.
Just this season, the NFL expanded the role of the booth replay official to take some of the pressure off of field refs. The game's been cracking down on predatory hits to the head, cracking down on taunting, cracking down on unsportsmanlike conduct, as I mentioned, and they're prioritizing the health of the most important players. Fans of old-time football will certainly be annoyed, but when are they not? Look, for the game to grow and evolve into the next generation like you and I both want it to, fans might have to get used to changes in the reffing landscape, for good and for bad.
I agree it won't be a seamless process. Just like the crash and burn of the pass interference review rules from a couple years ago, it all comes down to trial and error. Unfortunately, it's been a lot more error than trial in recent weeks. That's all from us here. Let's kick it over to Mayclaire Sabin, unless that draws any penalty flags. Take it away, Mayclaire.
Thanks, Joe. NFL London, where poor-performing NFL teams play with even fewer television viewers and fans who are more familiar with the Premier League than the NFL. Is the NFL actually going to expand to the international market across the pond? According to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, absolutely. This year, the Atlanta Falcons beat the New York Jets 27-20 on October 10th, while Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars took the field the following weekend against the Miami Dolphins. Lawrence earned his first NFL win on a last-second field goal by rookie Matthew Wright. What was definitely a big game for Lawrence and brought smiles to owner Shahid Khan and the whole fan base, is still telling that the Jaguars play in London so often. And of course the fans in London were awesome. It's one of only 4 football games they'll ever actually get to see. The Jaguars have played the most games in London out of any other NFL team, with 8 appearances over the last decade. They also have only made the playoffs once during this time period. And the Jaguars aren't an anomaly to this rule. Atlanta, the Jets, and Miami each had 1 win to their name before playing at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in North London. Only half of the games ever played were decided by double digits. But I don't think Goodell is wrong. Even though the NFL dominates the United States sports market, there's a considerable opportunity for them to expand overseas. As other sports, like soccer, ice hockey, or lacrosse, are more so played and watched internationally, the majority of the NFL viewers are in the United States. It's not a matter of how the NFL should expand, but when or if they'll take it more seriously. Starting in 2022, there will be a divisional rotation established where a different division plays overseas games each year. Teams that want to host a Super Bowl or relocate to a new city or venue also have to play internationally. Goodell's raising the stakes, and London fans are ecstatic to be along for the ride. The NFL's 3 games in London at Wembley Stadium during 2014 raised over $32 million. While official statistics are not out for this year's matchup, tickets sold out months in advance of the contest. The NFL is trying to create a market, and their Chief Strategy and Growth Officer, Christopher Halpin, is leading the charge. The 2021 games were, quote, a celebration of our sport and our robust UK fan base. Tickets are almost ready to market for the 2022 season. Websites are touting as many as 5 international games next year, and they're set to be played in London, Mexico, and now possibly Germany. Regardless of the underperforming teams or mismatched jerseys in a converted soccer stadium, NFL London makes one thing very clear. There's an international market to be had, and NFL leaders are determined to reach it. Jacob and Daniel, back to you.
Thanks, Mayclaire. That's all we have for this episode of Offsides. If you're interested in joining our team, please email us at offsides@butv10.com.
Also, be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Offsides10.
On behalf of our entire cast and crew, thanks for watching and have a great night.